podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC and we'll have Graham Hall from Gator 24/7 Sports give us the update on what's going on in the transfer portal. Missed it last night. Gators run rule. The Dolphins of JU. Cags hits maybe the longest home run ever hit in college football. I mean college baseball. Over the scoreboard. That's pretty far.
Wow.
So, JC, you're on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp.
I liked Tyler Shelnut, career high 5 RBIs, 2 home runs. That was nice. Jay Clemente, 5 strikeouts. That was nice. They're getting ready to go to Vanderbilt, where the Vandy boys, and let me tell you about Vanderbilt real quick, scouting report here. This is not your 2014, 2019 Vanderbilt Commodores. Just let's remember that. They do have a winning record in the SEC, but for the first time under Tim Corbin, last weekend they were swept by Texas A&M and shut out in the first 2 games. The Aggies shut out the Vandy boys in the first 2 games at Bluebell Park, where the Aggies reign. And Vanderbilt's coming off a sweep. So this is a good time to catch them. Maybe the Gators can get a series win. They certainly need it. Record-wise, every single game, midweek, late week, weekend, whatever it is important for the Gator baseball team. Every single game is important because of the record. I think Kevin O'Sullivan said that last night. So a good win and certainly a weekend where they can take advantage of maybe a team that's reeling a little bit in Vanderbilt.
Yeah, big weekend series there for sure. Softball at South Carolina here this weekend. If you missed it, Manny Nunnery is going back into the portal. He was into the portal before spring ball came out. He's going back into it. He probably sees the writing on the wall that he's not going to get a whole lot of playing time. So whatever. We'll have Graham Hall give us more updates on all that. JC, I meant to show you or read about this the other day. I totally forgot. Back to the Masters real quick, and we'll put a wrap on it. How much would you say the merchandise shops at Augusta National, roughly what they made?
Wow. Millions.
How about 70 million?
Well, I guess, Kimmy, you and I got Masters stuff, but we never wear it. So I don't understand. I don't really ever see anybody wearing Masters gear. But
I have a couple of shirts I wear every now and then.
Yeah.
They're smart because majority of their hats, which I don't wear hats, they put the year on it. So that means you have to buy a different one every time you go. Yeah. You can buy one with just their logo, but I mean, just think about that. And it's not really overpriced either. I mean, it's not cheap.
It's just incredible. That revenue stream that they have from the practice rounds through the tournament is amazing. It's amazing that the people that go to that just load up on the stuff. It's not
Joseph, who went this year, says he dropped $1,100 in it.
Ooh, wow. Good for you, Joseph. Well, that's a lot. Hey, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all, QB.
Yeah. Also the basketball transfer portal's out of control. I'm going to ask you this, JC.
All right,
I'm going to read you what I read, and I totally agree with this.
Sure.
And I'm going to tell you who said it afterwards. He said, "This transfer portal is something else," referring to basketball. As a player that played for 12 different clubs in my 13 years as a pro in the NBA, continuity and familiarity is what you should really want as a player. It's hard to build a legacy as a journeyman. Your legacy is what will matter when the ball stops bouncing.
Okay.
I think that's pretty well said. Do you know who said that? I'm going to give you a hint. His name is Richard Hendricks. Do you know who Richard Hendricks is, JC?
No. Tell me.
Okay. He's an Alabama All-American.
In basketball?
Yeah, and he works for the SEC network. He's an analyst on the SEC network. So what kind of fan are you, JC?
Obviously not a very
You didn't know who Richard Hendricks is.
What the hell's wrong with me? It's just one of those names that just flew right on by. But they've done great in basketball. If you want my opinion on that, I think Ned Oates is awesome. But no, I think he's right. I don't disagree with any of that. It's a shame what Kentucky's had to deal with the one and dones and the way the NBA simply won't help out college basketball. NBA doesn't care. It's up to the NBA to stop the one and done thing, but they won't do it. And the reality is that it's ruined college, Kentucky basketball as far as
I don't have a problem with a guy going and playing at a school for 1 year and going pro. I have the problem of these guys that play at a different school every year. That's what he's referring to.
Okay, well, no, and that's true, but it speaks to the lack of continuity, which is what you're,
or it speaks to these are some greedy kids or don't want to compete, and again, some of them, like for example, who's the kid that's in the transfer portal? I can't even think of his name right now, from Alabama. Their two guard is in the portal that I sent you the other day. I can't.
Rylan Griffin. He's not leaving because he's not getting playing time. He's leaving to see if he can make more money somewhere else. And I get it, but I don't get it because, the old system had a way of kind of making players disposable, and now that the courts are involved, that's just the way it is. And now the NCAA has basically said there's unlimited transfers, unlimited. So this is the way of the world. We got to get used to it because it's
I just think, but I agree with him. For the kids that play at a different school every year, they're not going to have anything to fall back on from, reunions, stuff in your office. What diploma do you put up there? It's a bunch of crap. So
I will say though, but in other sports, it's not necessarily as bad. For instance, in college hockey, where we just had the Frozen Four QB, I know you laugh, but it's a college.
Who won? Denver.
The Denver Pioneers.
Did they really?
And by the way, the Denver Pioneers, great guess, have 10 national championships. That's 10. That is one more than Michigan. That is two more than North Dakota. They are the all-time leaders in national championships. They've been to the final game 13 times, and they beat Boston University and Boston College in St. Paul. We have a viewer of this podcast in Denver who sent me this hat to represent the Pioneers. His name is Timmy. And Timmy, thank you for the hat. So since we're on the subject of hockey for one more moment, I'd like to bring up that the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to play the Florida Panthers in the first round of the NHL playoffs, which are going to get started next week. And if you like watching violence and people flying around and excitement and speed and action, you do not want to miss Tampa playing Florida in the first round of the NHL hockey playoffs because they hate each other. This is a big rivalry. It is going to be outstanding hockey. And last night, the Washington Capitals clinched the last wild card spot in the Eastern Conference by beating the Flyers and advancing to play the New York Rangers. There's your hockey update. Everybody loves hockey. It's playoff time, and I think it's more exciting than the NBA. That's what I think.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that. Real quick, Reggie said that majority on Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law, only about 2 to 3% of the kids are going to go pro. So get paid while you can. I understand that, but for Rylan Griffin, my point with Rylan Griffin is he started and played a ton and was probably their best three-point shooter percentage-wise on a team that went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
That I have a problem with. All right.
What would you do if Will? How would you feel if Will? Walter Clayton. He's leaving to go pro. That's fine. But Will Richard. How would you feel if Will Richard just picked up and went to Miami? He
came to us from
Sanford.
I know. Which again, I may look at it wrong, and I have no problem if people think I'm looking at it wrong. For the kids like Zion Pullen, who is playing at UC Riverside, to be able to go to a Power 5 school to finish his career, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with so Duke's point guard or one of their better guards, Roach, I can't remember his first name, Roach, is in the transfer portal. So whatever. I don't know why I keep bringing that up. Text on the Titan Mark text line says, hope the Gators don't have Mercer scheduled. They just beat FSU 13-6 in baseball.
What?
I guess Mercer beat Florida State in baseball yesterday. Who cares?
Glad we got that out there. I'm talking about the Denver Pioneers and he brings up Mercer. My God.
Cameron asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum. I want to know how many kids enter the portal and never come out. Thousands, and thousands.
And once you enter that portal, you're out of school. You're not enrolled. You're out of class. It's like you just thrown it all away. Leave it all behind, as they say on the door key at the Atlantis Casino. Leave it all behind. And that's what they do. And it doesn't always work out, man. It's a gamble. It certainly is. And it really depends on who you listen to. These kids are listening to people. Like I said, I told them 100 times. I've said it once. I've said it 100 times. Don't take all your money and go buy a stupid Lamborghini. Call me at Cornerstone Financial, and I'll take care of your future, because an athlete's life.
Well, no, the athletes are listening to the program, which is a good thing. All right.
Why is that?
Chris in Mayaka
it's not.
On the Titan MR text line says, heads are probably exploding today. In an interview with Josh Pate yesterday, Billy said that it is in the best interest of the team for him to call plays this year. I'm fine with Billy calling the plays. I am too. I don't want to get into this again. Offense was not the problem. Asterisk. Could the offense have been better? Absolutely. What's the best offense in college football last year, JC? Who was the best offense? Throw it out there. I don't even know.
Let's go with Washington. They were good.
Okay. Could Washington have been a little bit better on offense, you think? Absolutely, they could. Everybody can be better than what they are. So I have zero problem with that. Again, historically, the Gators have been the worst defense in school history, in NCAA history. Look at the record books, okay? And people still worry about play call. Let's tackle and rush the passer. That's simple.
Yeah, they have to do that if they're going to win. Miami had their spring game. Miami's the first game coming to Gainesville. They're going to bring in a quarterback who's got Heisman hopes, and he's looking to have a big game. I mean, he had 3 touchdown passes in their spring game. He's very good. He's not the best in the world, but he's a really good player. Cam Ward, he'll be here. And
the Miami people are kind of in an uproar because their highly acclaimed quarterback that was supposed to take over this year, I think his name is Jakari Brown from Valdosta.
He's transferring out of there.
He's transferring out.
Yeah, because Cam Ward's there. And Cam Ward's going to start against Florida. So, like you said, to your point, if we can't get pressure or if Florida Gators can't tackle, Miami's going to go up and down the field. And that's not what you want to see. So, just think about it.
Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. We got JC on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Speaking of Comfort Temp, comfort is our business. Peace of mind's our promise. Receive 1 year of our preventative maintenance plan for free with every scheduled home duct cleaning. We'll have Graham Hall. We'll get his thoughts on. There's I think there's a kid supposedly from Penn State, wide receiver that the Gators are looking at.
Yeah.
And we'll get Graham Hall. He'll have all the scoop.
I think wide receiver, QB, I'm not as worried about the wide receiver or running backs as a lot of folks might be.
If anybody's worried about running backs, they're blind.
Yeah, and I think the tight end, this Boardingham kid, is more than capable. Yeah. If anything on the offense, it might be, the protections and whatever. But I think Mertz is going to have a great grip on what he's supposed to do, and they're going to score 30 points. That's the thing. If you can get 30, 35 points in the game, you should have a chance to win it.
I agree for sure. All right, JC, we got to do our Peachland Dental. Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. This is the RBC Heritage this weekend.
Good turn.
It says Scotty Scheffler's playing.
That's hard to believe. It's hard to believe he's going to be in this thing. I'm with you there. I was shocked to see him on the roster. I mean, what does he need to win? Does he need to win a plaid jacket to make the month or something? This guy is having the best year in golf history. It seems like, or feels like, with all the wins. He almost won the Houston tournament if he had just made a putt on the last hole. That's how great he's been going. All right, QB, you're going to pick first? You want me to pick first? I'm going to go with a guy that's somewhat disappointed in the Masters, but who I really believe in because I truly think he is spectacular around the greens and with the short game, and he's long and he's accurate. And that's Wyndham Clark. I like Wyndham Clark.
Wendy Clark.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. He played well last week.
Just stole my next pick.
And so we're going with Tommy Fleetwood.
I like the
Fairway
way.
Jesus.
Yeah, fairway
That's what
juice.
they
I
call
like
him.
the way. Yeah, I like the way Max Homa played. You know, Max Homa had something like 36 or 7 birdie putts in the Masters, and he just didn't make any. And if
And
he
he's an
makes,
outstanding putter too.
God, he's really good, and he can hit it straight. If he makes, say, I don't know, 25% of those birdie putts he had over the weekend, he was going to be right there challenging for the championship. But I think Max is playing good golf. I'll go with him in the second pick.
All right. Real quick before we get to our last pick, JB on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel also. Can Ball take the backup running back spot? I agree. We were very strong at that position.
Yeah.
I don't think you really there's not going to be a set backup. Montreal Johnson is clearly your starter. Then you're going to have Trayon Webb, who played last year as a true freshman, Jaden Ball and Katie Daniels. All of them will get their carries or playing time.
Good.
All right. Hunter asked real quick, QB, what are they doing with the Boston Golf Course? Played there the other day, and it was in great shape for the amount of play it gets. It's still there. It'll be there. They have supposedly supposed to build a new golf course. We don't know if it's actually going to happen. I will tell you this. They're spending a lot of money on putting the bulkhead around the entire pond on the par 3s 2 and 8. So that's probably a couple $100,000 job, I would think.
Wow.
I'm not in the construction business, but it already looks better. But they have the best greens you will play, I would say, anywhere in the South.
They're the hardest greens, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, that's why our golf team's pretty good, because of the greens. All right, JC, my last pick. Wait, no, how many have we picked? We've only picked. I've
picked 2.
You've picked 2. I'm going to take Ben on.
Hey, QB, is it just a refeed loop with you on these?
No,
greens?
I don't take Ben on very often.
You don't?
I take Ju Young Kim.
You also
By the way, did you see Tom Kim? Tom Kim was the first player to congratulate Scotty.
Yeah, they're friends. Love it. Okay. Wow, man, look at this field. I mean, you would think this is a major right here, QB. Maybe it's one of those special events. I'm not sure. I was surprised at looking at this too. I got to take somebody that's not a favorite all the time and always wins, but that's kind of what I want to do, because that's what happens, it seems like. I'm going to go with you took Fleetwood, so I'm not going to take him. We'll skip the Scheffler. This is a Scheffler free zone for the weekend. I mean, we can pick him every weekend if we want to, but it does. I like Sam Burns. Give me Sammy. Sam Burns is going to make a lot of birdies on this track.
Yeah, and I think I had the highest. We both had Scotty Scheffler last week, but then I had Cam Smith, who came in like 4th, I think.
Yeah, good pick.
They never showed Cam. The Masters coverage. I don't care what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
CBS, the folks at Augusta National told the people at CBS, do not show people from the Live Tour. Well, because the only person was DeChambeau, because he was in the lead.
Yeah.
But they actually went one time. Cam Smith is like 4 shots back. They go to him as he's getting ready to pull the trigger from an approach shot, and then go straight and watch Tiger and somebody walking up the fairway. It was nuts. It was nuts. All right. Yeah. So you took Sam Burns. I'm going to go with Harris English.
Okay. Good pick there. Yeah.
This is kind of, he grew up in this area.
That's right.
Over there in the coastline. So we're going to see if Harris English can play some golf.
I like that pick.
Tony says it's a featured event, needs to be, since otherwise a lot of the guys would skip.
That's then. Okay. So they've got these events like the one in Charlotte at Quail Hollow, Bay Hill. These are considered feature events. The PGA, they've amped up the purse, I want to say. And, the next major, QB, is just in a few weeks at Valhalla. And so,
I played there, by the way.
I wish they had kept the PGA in August, because after the British Open, for me, golf is over. I don't get into the Tour Championship money grab race or whatever it is. Don't care. I like watching the majors. And in August, there isn't one. So they took the PGA from August and moved it to May. I wish they had left it in August. But May is coming, so the PGA is going to be played in Louisville. Then we go to Pinehurst for the U.S. Open. That's going to be played on the number 2 course. And then we end up at Royal Troon for the British Open. Those are your 4 major venues.
I've played 2 of the major courses. How about that, JC?
Yeah. You played Valhalla and Pinehurst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Valhalla, when I was with the Bengals, me and Carson Palmer played there, and then I played Pinehurst with Wesley Walls, Steve Berline, and Kerry Collins.
Your Ole Miss tight end Wesley Walls.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to just say this about Lane. I love that guy, but he turned the spring game into a college social event, and that's fine. I don't care.
It was not good. Could you imagine if you were?
I could not.
If you drove from the coast, it's like a 6-hour drive.
Well,
and you got there, and that's what the nonsense you got to see.
Yeah, well, I would blame myself for doing that, but yes, I hear you. But Ole Miss, Mississippi, is on Florida's schedule. That is the sleeper in the SEC. They are loaded with seniors and older players, and they've got a quarterback coming back for his third straight year.
You just went out on a limb. I don't think anybody knew about Ole Miss, JC.
Well, you never talk about them, even though they're your school.
They are my school. Here's what I will say about them. They do have a lot of players that they've brought in. They're like those dream teams in the NBA that the best team money can buy. They're like the Yankees and the Dodgers. But I will say this. That's all on paper. Those guys have got to gel together, play as a team, because you just never know. We'll see.
I think they're dangerous. I think you better watch out for the Mississippi Rebels.
I will agree with that. But let me ask you this, JC. How many times has Ole Miss had all the hype,
right,
and then they can't win the games that they have to win?
Alabama.
It happens every year.
It happens every year.
Happens every year.
You're right. But you got Jackson Dart, who's a third-year starter, and I think he's a tough kid, excellent quarterback. I just think they got all the pieces. That if they stay healthy, watch out for Mississippi. I said it on April the 16th. I'm going to put it down. The Mississippi Black Bears.
Rodney says if Lane pulled that stuff at UF, the fan base would have gone nuts.
Oh my God! I mean, he had a basketball court in there, and I was watching Mike Morgan with you the other day, and he was saying all this goofy stuff that was going on. No pads, 7-on-7 drills, and it was a party. It was crazy.
All right, this
is crazy.
This day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. 1999. University of Kentucky's Tim Couch, first pick by the Cleveland Browns. That's this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. All right, before we move on, got a text on the Titan of our text line from William in Virginia. He says, your thoughts on Manny Nunnery going into the portal? I don't understand why. He had a great play, great interception in the spring game. I mean, that's just one play. He probably sees the writing on the wall with Pup Howard, Miles Graham, Shamar James, not to pick on Manny Nunnery, but if he just had any awareness in his drop coverage, he has an interception, or at least can freaking just get in the way and let the ball hit him against Missouri. We win the game.
Yeah, I know. It's just a farce that they didn't win that game. But Miles Graham at linebacker, I think is going to be a name we hear a lot of.
Oh, well, Miles has got to get healthy. If he's healthy, I've said it multiple times. I saw Derrick Henry in person in high school. He was the best high school football player I ever saw. Yeah. And since that time, Miles Graham has been the best that I've seen.
Wow. Well, that's a lot. I hope he can play. If he plays,
he can play.
Really be helpful. Yeah.
Christopher says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, not sold an Ole Miss yet. Michael says it's all about team chemistry. You are correct. Yeah. So, I haven't looked at Ole Miss's schedule. I know they got to play Georgia. They don't play Alabama this year.
Hard to believe.
So
that's hard to believe.
Time will tell. I mean, they got Jackson Dart is what makes them go.
Yeah.
But man, sometimes when you bring in those guys taking the money, coming to Ole Miss, because Ole Miss, it's a different program because of the way Lane runs it. Lane does not. It's so laid back. They have set rules, but it's kind of has that NFL mentality, and I don't know. It's hard to explain.
They're an experienced group. I mean, a lot of seniors on this team. They're going to be an older group, and I think they got a lot of experience playing football. And you're right. They avoid Alabama. That's been their problem, playing Alabama, and they don't have to. So I just can't stand the way that they just went with 8 games. I mean, I just don't need the Ball States and the Mercers on the schedule, but that's what they're going to do. So,
well, we don't have those. We have Sanford, who's damn good. That's the only one we have.
Yeah, Sanford scored 40 on you the last time. Just remember that. So,
yeah. Andy says Ernest Graham said on Saturday that Miles will be 100% this fall and be ready for
That's
Miami.
good.
I agree with
Good.
that.
Yeah, he needs to
All right,
play.
so while we're talking about Ole Miss, let's look at their schedule.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
Okay, so they open up with the Purple Paladins.
win,
Then they play the Blue Raiders or whatever the Raiders from Middle Tennessee.
win,
Then they play Wake Forest.
win,
Then they play Georgia Southern.
win. Yeah, I know. I mean,
Then so right there, if
Four
Florida
up.
was playing those four teams, I would say win, 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 win as well.
Yeah, 4
All right. Then they got the Kentucky Wildcats
win,
at home. They go to South Carolina.
win,
They go to LSU.
maybe win.
Okay, here's where it gets harder. Then they host Oklahoma.
Okay, tough.
Then they at Arkansas,
Win,
host Georgia,
tough.
come to Gainesville, and then they got the Egg Bowl.
Yeah. Well,
That
they're back
schedule
end loaded.
ain't real
It's
hard.
Yeah, no, but it's back end loaded like Florida's mostly. As I was looking at Florida's schedule, I see Texas A&M coming in the third week, middle of September. That I overlooked that, QB. I overlooked that game. That's going to be hard as hell. That's going to be hard.
Well, it is, but I mean, A&M has lost a lot of good players in the portal. A couple of their guys more guys just went into the portal. Yeah. There were penciled in as starters when spring ball ended.
Talent. The talent's everywhere, though, QB.
Yeah, they got. I mean, every SEC team has talent. I agree with that. So,
yeah,
I still think Florida will be favored in their first 5 games of the year.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
What game are we not going to be favored in, JC?
Oh, well, I mean, I can't disagree with that, but I
mean, Tennessee was like number 9 in America last year, and we were like a 6-point favorite over them coming here.
Yeah, true.
So,
yeah.
All right. Let me get a couple of these texts, and we'll get out of here and get to Graham Hall since he knows more what's going on than we do. This text from Joseph says, "Who do y'all pick to win the NBA Finals?"
By the way, RIP Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson did not score last night. He
didn't score a point?
He did not score a point against Sacramento. The Kings sent them packing. They're out. Don't have to look at Steve Kerr or Seth Curry.
Well, I knew there was the play-in games last night, which I still haven't figured all that out. But the Lakers move on, and the Kings move on. And I guess tonight, let me look real quick. There has to be an Eastern Conference play-in, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so tonight we have the play-in game, the Heat at the 76ers,
right,
and the Hawks at the Bulls, Billy Donovan. Okay. But what I don't understand in here is, so Friday the Kings are playing the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Is that a series or is that one more game to move into the playoffs? See, I don't follow that.
I don't. But the question was, who's going to win? All right. The answer is going to. It's them or Denver, right? I mean, Denver. Speaking of Denver, national champions, pioneers. Yeah, it's either them or the Celtics to me. Those are the two best. I'll go with that. I'm more excited about the hockey playoffs, and I think in that you've got 6 teams that could easily win it all. And so that to me is a lot more interesting. But that I know the NBA is popular. I get it.
So this is why we got Andy here. Andy's our research guy. He says the Kings play the Pelicans on Friday for the number 8 slot. So whoever won last night has to win another game to get into the actual playoffs.
Gotcha. Okay, so the Lakers are in it though because they won last night apparently, but the Kings are not in it yet because they won last night and have to win again. Is that right?
That's what I don't understand because
the Lakers beat the Pelicans or somebody.
Why? Okay, so the Pelicans are out or they lose, so they're still in the hunt. But
the Kings won and they're not yet.
But the Warriors lost and they're done.
They're out. Also.
But how are the Pelicans still in it if they lost yesterday? I don't understand. We don't have time to figure it out. Large Fry on YouTube says he just joined the program, so I'm sorry if this was already asked. But where'd you get that hoodie? We can take care of you. Do you want a number 9 hoodie, or would you like a number 51 or a 15? We can do them all. Just email the program.
I like that.
Large Fry. Send us a message on Facebook or what have you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. All right. Rhode Island Gator says, Shane, with Billy calling the plays, does that mean we don't throw deep again? Well, he's thrown deep you got to remember, we threw the ball deep last year a few times, not enough.
Not enough.
Pearsall caught a bunch of deep posts.
8
but
tries. You mean wasn't Lagway's first pass the long one in the game?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
First
again, I don't know. You got to, as a play caller, you can't just go out there and start firing the ball around the ballpark. You got to realize, okay, what kind of team do I have? Can we afford to go 3 and out like that and put our historically awful defense on the field? Okay. You got to sometimes. I don't think people don't put that in their mind that it's complementary football, people like to call it. Yeah. You got to look at your team and then put your plan together, what's best for your team. Now, he may think we're outstanding on defense this year and we open it up. I don't know. So, all right, JC, let's see if Graham Hall, I believe, is waiting.
Hall.
So you have a great day, JC. Enjoy hockey and all that nonsense, and we will talk to you on Friday.
Yes, Friday, but this is a series, guys. Lightning, Panthers. Unbelievable. All right. Adios.
That's JC. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline. Take a quick timeout. We're going to talk with 24/7 Sports, Graham Hall. You're watching, listening, PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's Eat, Drink, Play, Watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and it's our man, Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports. Good morning, Graham. How you doing, bud?
Good morning, Shane. Good to be here as always, and a lot to talk about.
Yeah, let's start with spring game. Your thoughts? I thought it was a pretty clean spring game. We got to see some guys, especially some early enrollees, get some action. Just your overall assessment. Let's start with the offense. What did you think of what you saw offensively?
Yeah, I thought that, based on how it was designed, you weren't going to see too many explosive plays from the quarterbacks. You weren't going to see DJ Lagway's athleticism on display. You touch him with his pinky and it's a sack. I was just glad that we got to really, I said this to you, I'm glad we got to actually see some plays here. You look around the SEC, that's not always the case. right now, you could see a hot dog eating contest or some 7v7 football. We actually got to take some things away. I thought Florida's ground game looked pretty good. I think the depth at running back could be there. Jaden Baugh looked really, really good to me. I think that even, Jacoby Jackson, give him some credit. We'd heard a lot of good things about him throughout the spring. I don't know how much he'll continue to impact this roster when the season arrives, but it looked like a valuable addition from a practice standpoint from him. And then I think that Eugene Wilson, man, he could have a great season. Absolutely. If he stays healthy, looks like a dynamic threat in the open field. He's added like 12, 13 pounds of muscle to his frame, which I think was much needed in the offseason. And then you've seen some other guys step up. Aiden Mizell, you saw him score that 22-yard touchdown. He could be a factor on kickoff return as well. Marcus Burke, maybe he takes a step forward now in his redshirt junior year. They certainly have a lot of production to replace there at that position. So seeing that there looked like some guys who are capable was, I think, my biggest takeaway from the offense. But I do think that now with the portal being open, they're going to go after some other wide receivers. They just took a walk-on tight end in Caleb Rios last night, who I think is a really good blocker, only going to play 4 games this season. So certainly the offense can improve a little bit, but I didn't think it was in a bad place whatsoever.
Yeah. Speaking of the receivers, as you mentioned, there's still a possibility they're looking for some veteran guys on the waiver wire, I call it now, like the NFL. Because we know Trey Wilson, how good a player he is. Losing Ricky Pearsall really hurts, because I look at last year, we tried to feature Ricky Pearsall so much. That's going to be Trey Wilson this year. We need that complementary receiver so they can't double that guy. Just the guys on the roster right now, who do you think that could be? Is it Mizell? Is it Gene? Is it DK? Is it Khalil Jackson? Who would Graham Hall feature as like the second guy?
I think Tim DK is a good option, just given his chemistry with Graham Mertz. Really doesn't, he's not exceptional in any one area, but he's just a steady route runner, a consistent target. Graham Mertz knows where he's going to be. They got chemistry. I think that he's going to be a really good option, but I think that Khalil Jackson is going to have a better season than many people expect. I think that he's gotten a little bit faster. He's a very physical wide receiver. He makes great catches in the open field, really steady hands. I think he's going to be a target for this offense this season. Between those 3 guys, and then Aiden Mizell, I think maybe people forget that he could be the fastest guy on the team. I think that he is absolutely going to be a deep threat for Florida this season. Whether he's, hauling in 8-9 receptions a game, I don't really see that. But I do think that he's going to be a factor who's going to be able to take the top off the defense and make it so that Eugene Wilson's not double covered every single time, because they're going to certainly need someone who is going to be able to take some pressure off of him. It looks like it's going to be him as the main target for this offense, but I do think they have some options.
Text on the Titan MR text line from Ronnie in Atlanta. He says, speaking of Andy Jean, what's going on with him? I know he's had a hamstring, but there's also rumors of him possibly going to the portal. What have you heard?
Yeah, I don't really know about the rumors right now. It certainly is possible. I do think, we've heard some things over at Swamp 247 that he could be looking for a fresh start elsewhere. Anytime you miss out on your freshman season, remember he only played, 4 games and had a red shirt, was dealing with an injury last year that limited his mobility. Spring camp, he was dealing with a soft tissue injury. I think that, it would be an unfortunate situation to lose him, because we're now in this era where if you don't make an impact with the first, 14 months of the program, people are already speculating that you're going to be out the door. And that shouldn't always be the case. Absolutely. I mean, Andy Jean was someone that people were very, very excited about, getting him over Miami, a couple of other programs. I would like to see it work out for him, but I also would understand if, Florida looking elsewhere at wide receiver, a few guys who have come in and have already seemed to not necessarily pass him up on the offensive depth chart, but have been able to contribute a little bit more throughout spring. Again, a former walk-on in Khalil Jackson, who looks like he's going to earn a starting role. You bring in DK. Maybe the targets aren't going to be there for Andy Jean this season, and he wants to be able to produce, but he's got to get healthy, be able to string together a full camp, show what he can do. And if he does that, I do think he's going to be, a beneficial player for this team. But it certainly doesn't look like right now that he's been able to do that throughout the spring. So I could understand from his perspective, he wants to be able to compete. He wants to get healthy and be able to produce. And if he feels like he's already in a situation where that's passed him by, then it probably would be best interest of both parties for him to go elsewhere. But I really hope it doesn't happen. Really good kid. I think he's got a bright future. Just has had some unfortunate injuries where he hasn't been able to produce to his capabilities in practice.
Yeah, the running back room. When I first saw those two true freshmen, like day 3 of spring ball, I was like, we ain't missing a beat here. Uh, you got Montrell, you got Trey Webb, you got KJ Daniels, and you got or is it KD or KJ Daniels? KD Daniels. I
Katie,
think.
yep.
KD, and then the ball kid out of Georgia. But Jacoby Jackson is a transfer from a community college. They're loaded in the backfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, not to diminish the impact of Trevor Etienne, because I did think that he was valuable for Florida last year. I think that you're not going to miss a beat from a blocking standpoint, which certainly is a critical element of the game, especially for this offense here. And then if Jaden Baugh is able to do what he did in the spring game, again, it's a spring game. I'm not going to overreact and say that, Jaden Baugh is going to have an 800-yard season, but I do think that the by committee approach that they could have with KD and obviously, Trayon Webb, it seems that people have forgot that Trayon Webb is a big bodied running back. I think that he can continue to improve. I think that he's going to be an impactful player this year, but this is really Montrell Johnson's show. He's improved as a pass catcher out of the backfield, a really good run blocker as well, pass blocker as well, excuse me. I think he also is a really good, just an all-around leader in this unit. And I don't think, not to diminish the impact of ETN last year, but I do think that Florida's going to not really suffer a drop off in the run game this year. And I really hope that Jaden Baugh is able to make an impact, because that would be another sign that this coaching staff is able to identify early impact players and win those recruiting battles over teams like, Arkansas, Alabama, all were after Jaden Baugh. I think that if he can come in and have a beneficial year, it's only going to help Florida's recruiting efforts at the position moving forward as well.
Yeah, Brandon says, QB, I say all of this acknowledging Mertz is the better QB with experience, but if you were coaching possibly to save your job in the O-line and wide receiver separation was the same as last year and you started the year 2 and 4, would you possibly start Lagway to open up the offense and hold on to him with other schools chomping at the bit to snag him? Look, here's what I will say. Billy's trying to win games. Graham Mertz is clearly the better quarterback. You got to remember, DJ should still be in high school. Think back to when Anthony Richardson was thrown in to be the starting quarterback after he'd been here a couple of years. He was like deer in the headlights. I mean, when you say open it up, teams will still play you the same way. I mean, they'll be more worried about him running the ball than throwing the ball. So long story short, Graham Mertz is the quarterback unless he clearly gets hurt, in my opinion. I don't know how you think about that, but that's the way I see it. I think Lagway's got a lot of potential moving forward. And you got to remember, too, if Billy Napier is not your head coach here next year, I doubt DJ Lagway is the quarterback here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that if you're rooting for DJ Lagway to be the guy of the future, you also have to be supporting Billy Napier to remain here in Gainesville, because in this transfer portal era, if Billy Napier no longer is the head coach at some point this year or after the season, there's going to be a million teams calling DJ Lagway trying to convince him to come, especially teams from his home state of Texas. I do think that it would be very wise, in my opinion, to get DJ Lagway some playing experience this upcoming season. Just, you want to set him up. You don't want to put him on the bench the entire year, in my mind, because maybe that leads to some frustration on his part, but you also want to get him some in-game experience. You want to see him play in front of a crowd. You want to give him a chance to work with the offense and grow as a leader, become more vocal within this offense. I do think that makes a whole lot of sense. But let me just say this: if Florida starts 2 and 4, I don't think it's going to be as a result of a lack of offensive production. I think that if you looked at this team last year, defense is the big key for Florida being able to be a little bit more competitive in games. It wasn't the offense that said, hey, Jaden Daniels, go out there and throw for 700 yards against us. It was Florida's inability to cover downfield. And I think that the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball will allow them to have a better chance to be successful this season. I don't think that you're not going to see, I think, a massive regression from Graham Mertz where he's all of a sudden turnover prone again, not making the right reads. I don't think that's really an area of concern right now. If DJ Lagway is on the field this year, I think it'll be because Florida's winning some games there in the fourth quarter, or they're looking to give another look to the defense and keep teams guessing here. And so I don't think it's necessarily going to be we're going to pull the rug out from under Graham Mertz and go with the true freshman quarterback. If Florida does make a quarterback change this season, maybe this is a hot take, I could see it even being Clay Millen, a guy with experience playing at, Colorado State, started 10 games at Colorado State, maybe a little bit more comfortable being a long-term quarterback for Florida if they have to make a change at starting quarterback. I don't think Billy Napier is going to want to throw the true freshman into the fire to be able to run everything that he wants to run on offense. I don't really see that being their best option right now, but I do think you see DJ Lagway play a role within this offense this season.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. A few more minutes with Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports. Speaking of the defense side of the ball, yeah, we have to improve there, and it comes with the front seven. I love our secondary. I think Jason Marshall Jr. and Devin Moore are NFL corners with their length. Adding Asa Turner, DJ Douglas with Castell back there, I think the safety play could be really, really good. Trequezy Bridges, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He can play a little bit of everywhere. And Sharif Denson looks like he's locked down that nickel spot. I've said all that, but if we can't rush the passer or affect the quarterback, it does not matter. I think LJ McCray is a problem coming off the edge. What did you see from him, and who else in that front four can really help the Gator defense?
Yeah, LJ McCray's combination of size and speed is just a guy who I think he's going to have a larger role this season than I think DJ Lagway does. I think people should prepare for that possibility, just given the need there at edge. And, I think Tyreek Sapp is going to have a good season as well. And it's fortunate for Florida that they already addressed the interior of the defensive line back in December, because right now you look around at the portal, there's no help coming from the interior of the defensive line to help a roster right now. Everyone wants defensive tackles, and there aren't really many good ones out there. If Florida can get better pass rush from the interior and the edge position takes a step forward, you got to remember also, we didn't see potentially Florida's most impactful edge player in the spring game in Justice Boone. That's a guy still working his way back from injury. If you get him, McCray, Tyreek Sapp as well, I think that Florida will be able to rush the passer at a higher rate this season. That certainly is something that they're going to need to do is create some problems in the backfield and give those guys in the secondary a better chance at covering. You mentioned the safety additions. I do think that it kind of feels like they're overlooked a little bit. Asa Turner is absolutely a hard-hitting safety, has experience with Will Harris. You add DJ Douglas as well. I think with Triquez Bridges, I could see him playing at either safety or potentially working a little bit at that nickelback star position. I also think that, don't sleep on Aaron Gates, a guy who, wasn't able to play too much last season. Between him and Sharif Denson, they should be able to not miss a beat at the star position with Jaden Hill going to Texas A&M. I do think that, the line of scrimmage and the third level of the defense are going to be much improved. When it comes to the linebacker spot, I think that if they can get impressive play from the linebacker spot, they're going to be a little bit better. I thought Grayson Howard looked really good in the spring game, and I expect that to continue and be a little bit better when they get Miles Graham back, Aaron Childs on campus, Shamar James fully healthy. I think Derek Wingo will play a role this season as well. So I am expecting right now for the defense to take a step forward this upcoming season.
Andy's question on Facebook Live is, Graham, will it make any sense for the Gators to look at SEC players in the portal with the special waiver rules now in place?
It's possible. I certainly think it's possible. I do think that, the big one that I would have people wanting is Peyton Kirkland, a guy that Florida was in for, certainly when he was a prospect, transferring from Texas, just entered the transfer portal. I think it's possible he gets a waiver, but I do think when you're a team that's already at the 85-man scholarship limit, you don't necessarily want to bank on getting that waiver, right? Because if they don't get it, then you wasted a spot for this upcoming season. I do think that, help on the interior of the offensive line is certainly something that Florida is going to take a look at throughout the portal window for these next 2 weeks. But is the ideal help for the upcoming season getting a freshman? I don't know if that's the right answer, but when it comes to SEC guys, I think that's one that makes a whole lot of sense is Kirkland. And I would not be surprised if Florida kicks the tires on him. I know they've already made contact with him, reached out to him. I do think that this is certainly a situation where you could, see it happen. I don't know what their level of contact necessarily is, but, if it was me, I would probably play it a little safer and stay away from guys from the SEC, just knowing how unpredictable that could be right now.
Yeah, just so our listeners understand, in this portal window, if you pick up a guy from the SEC, he will be ineligible to play this fall unless he gets a special waiver. That's correct, right, Brent Graham?
Yep.
Okay. Real quick, 31 Ember on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, says, are there any expected transfers out for the Gators?
Well, you saw yesterday that Manny Nunnery is going to enter the transfer portal. That one, I think, wasn't a surprise. I think you could say that's an expected one. A guy who entered the portal back in January, came back to the program. I think he had a pretty good spring game too, but like I just mentioned, with the depth at linebacker, you're getting Shamar James back. Grayson Howard looks like he's really good as well. Looks like a wise impact. This team is very, very high on the potential of both Miles Graham and Aaron Childs. It was unfortunate that Miles Graham couldn't really play too much in the spring game, or really in the entire spring. He was out for the spring game, didn't play much in spring due to that having that back procedure. But Aaron Childs, that's a name I think people should get to know already. I think he is physically ahead of where a true freshman should be. I would not be surprised if he kind of has a Eugene Wilson type impact on this defense. A guy who comes in as a mid-year guy, doesn't miss a beat, is impactful in fall, and he's playing in a rotational role for this team this year. And unfortunately for Nunnery, not to criticize Florida's coaching staff, but I could understand maybe why was a little bit frustrated. He was put in a difficult position last year at times. Certainly there was that big play that he gave up that he's already mentioned on social media, but a guy who also excels on special teams. And I don't think they really put him in the ideal position during the field goal block unit and punt block to really be a guy who could make an impact there. So I could understand why he's maybe looking for a better location for himself for this upcoming season. That's an expected one as well. I think there's a few other guys on this roster who haven't made an impact the last couple of years that Florida could say, hey, I think your best bet if you want to have a chance to play this upcoming season is looking elsewhere. And I think we'll see some of that in the next coming days, if not later today.
Yeah, good stuff as always, my man. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter, read your work, and do y'all have any specials going on right now?
Hey, it's always my pleasure joining you. Best in the business, Shane. I hope everyone out there realizes how much information they get from watching the show and listening to you. Right at Swamp 247, we're tracking all the transfers. We're talking to recruits. You saw that Blake Alderman last night broke the news that the Gators are going to add Caleb Rios from Air Force, who's going to come in for 18 months. He's only going to play 4 games this season and hopefully play all next year. A really good blocker from the Air Force. We're going to have a lot of content coming soon. We'll have a podcast later. And if you're not a member at Swamp 247, you can join today for 60% off. And if you don't get that deal today, the next 5 days, we're going to be running one for 50% off. So take advantage, join the message board, reach out to us with whatever questions you have. You can follow me on X at Graham Hall, and I'm sure we'll do this again very soon. It's always my pleasure, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Graham. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Y'all take care out there.
That's Graham Hall. Does a tremendous job covering the Gators for us. Make sure you follow him. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself on excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Again, I want to thank JC and Graham Hall for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you here tomorrow. Same place, same time. Take care.